chosen one. You didn't land here by mistake. This moment was written with your name on it. There's a reason you pressed play, a reason your spirit felt that pull. This isn't just another message. This is your confirmation. You've been sensing something shifting, haven't you? Doors creaking open, timing accelerating, things finally starting to move that were stuck for years. That's not your imagination. That's alignment. That's divine timing catching up with your faith. Right now, you're standing in the middle of a holy turning point, and you need to know this. You are not late. You are not behind, and you have not been overlooked. Everything is unfolding right on time, and heaven is backing you up with a force you can't even fully see yet. This space you just stepped into, it's not random, it's sacred. You're surrounded by others who have carried silent battles, who have walked through fire and still chosen purpose. People like you, people who didn't quit, people who are ready not just for more, but for the right more. So here's what I want you to do: lean in. Don't just watch. Let this word breathe into you. Let it unlock something that's been buried under disappointment, under doubt, under delay. Let this be your signal that the shift you've been feeling isn't just near, it's now. If your heart is beating faster, if your spirit is saying, "This is for me," it's because it is. You were called here. You were chosen for this. And I promise you, by the end of this journey, you won't just be inspired. You'll be ignited. This isn't just encouragement, it's activation. Are you ready? Because what's about to unfold will not just speak to where you've been. It will pull you into where you're meant to go. Let's dive in. Let's go deeper. This is your moment. Let's move. Looking for purpose and peace? Hit subscribe and start the journey. There was a time when no footsteps echoed back in response. No eyes looked on. No voices applauded. Yet the transformation began there, in silence, in solitude, in the unseen. What is unfolding now was ignited long before the applause, back when resolve was shaped without confirmation. Growth was hidden, wrapped in quiet hours where effort was offered without promise. The fire was not for show, it was for refining. What needed to be built demanded more than skill, it demanded substance. In those hidden moments, character was being tested like iron under weight. While others pursued attention, there was devotion to alignment. When shortcuts seemed tempting, the long path was chosen, not for reward, but for truth. You did not settle for shallow soil. You dug where no one else was looking. The nights bore witness to endurance no one else saw. You didn't just survive. You stood unshaken amid storms that should have uprooted you. When the air grew heavy with doubt, there was still a choice to believe. When isolation crept in, something greater was still honored. Even when answers were absent, trust remained. Integrity was not a performance. It was a decision made repeatedly, even in exhaustion. The silence held more power than noise ever could, because it was in the silence that you listened, obeyed, and continued. Not out of recognition, but out of conviction. Step beyond the screen. Join and help light the way for others. Every unseen choice was recorded. Every unseen sacrifice shaped depth that could not be faked. There were no skipped steps, no false facades. And now, what is shifting is not random. It is the echo of preparation. It is the alignment of timing with destiny. Elevation was never about spectacle. It was about readiness. This rapid unfolding is not reward for popularity. It is the unveiling of consistency. This isn't coincidence, it's completion. Not all growth happens in sunlight. Some roots stretch deepest in the absence of light. And now, what was sown in secrecy is rising in strength. The doors are not opening because they were knocked on. They're opening because they recognize what's approaching. This is not merely success. It is the echo of endurance. Not a stroke of luck, but the unveiling of layers built in private. No noise can drown it. No doubt can touch it. What comes next is not the beginning of worth, but the revelation of what was always within. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. Isaiah 40 verse 31. You ever seen an eagle just flap, and flap to take off? No, it waits. It soars. It catches the wind that others can't even see. And when the time is right, it rises. That's you. That's what's happening now. You've been in what felt like stillness, but heaven was preparing your lift. Not flapping in panic, not chasing every gust, but waiting for the wind that was designed for your wings, that, if your heart overflows with divine love, Now is the moment to let it shine. Click the super thank you button on YouTube and give $50 or more to help carry God's light to others. Your gift will bless not only your life, but countless others. You are part of His sacred plan. Your kindness may be the answer to someone's prayer. Share your blessings and honor His kingdom. May His grace guide you always. See, beloved, there are times in life where it feels like you've been benched, passed over, or forgotten. You're sitting there wondering, Lord, did you skip my row? You see others winning, rising, gaining momentum while you're still holding promises that feel like they're on back order. You celebrate them, sure, but inside you're wondering, when will it be my turn? It's okay to admit that. God can handle your honesty, and He's not offended by your questions. He's proud you're still talking to Him. Because here's what you didn't see. What looked like a delay was divine design. The silence wasn't rejection. It was protection. The slow pace wasn't punishment. It was preparation. The very reason it took longer is because what He's building in you is heavier than what others are carrying. Some were launched fast because their calling was light. But yours? It's got weight. It's got legacy. It's generational. You weren't skipped. You were set aside. And not to wither, but to become, to deepen, to anchor. There were things in you that needed strengthening. Faith muscles that had to be torn and rebuilt so that when the elevation came, you wouldn't fall under it. That spotlight you thought you were missing? It would have scorched you if it came too soon. Because exposure without preparation is sabotage. And God loves you too much to let you rise before you're ready to remain. Let me tell you something, chosen one. The stage might have seemed silent, but heaven wasn't still. While people were watching someone else's highlight reel, heaven was investing in your foundation. That's right. While others were performing, you were being formed. While they ran for claps, you learned to stand in quiet. While they hustled for recognition, you built a rhythm of obedience. And trust me, that rhythm is what's going to carry you when the rush comes. You see, fast fame fades, but deep roots last. Some people rose quickly, but their roots were too shallow, and the first storm knocked them over. But you, God had you planted deep. You thought it was burial, but it was planting. And now the fruit that's about to come out of your life will feed people who never even met you. You've been assigned to impact beyond your reach. That's why it took longer. Because you're not just carrying something, you're carrying someone else's breakthrough too. Step beyond the screen. Join and help light the way for others. Listen, don't you dare compare your process to someone else's promotion. What's on your life is custom-built, tailor-made. There's no blueprint because you're the blueprint. That's why the delay felt confusing. God was writing something that's never been written before, using your life as the ink. So yes, it looked unfair. Yes, it felt like others ran ahead while you were stuck in place. But now the shift is here. The ground is moving. Things are turning. And you're not catching up. You're stepping into what was always yours. It's not late. It's right on time. Because you are right on time. So hold your head up. Shoulders back. Spirit open. The quiet years weren't wasted. They were woven with wisdom, lined with fire, wrapped in trust. And now the door is opening, and it won't creak. It will swing. Not because you demanded it, but because you were destined for it. And when it opens, walk through it not like you're lucky, but like you were born for this. Because you were. What appeared to be passing you by was actually positioning you. It was not rejection, it was precision. Timing had to align not just with external, but with your readiness to hold what would come. Certain platforms would have demanded pieces of you were never meant to trade. So the pause stretched, the silence lengthened, not to crush, but to crystallize. The waiting sharpened your hearing, trained your sight, strengthened your step. What was preserved for you required a version of you forged in patience and faith. Others weren't moved aside for your gain. They were released into what matched their measure, while you were being calibrated for something deeper. The difference was never in visibility, but in velocity. While others sprinted, you were being calibrated like an arrow, drawn back not for delay, but for precision and release. You didn't fracture in the stillness. You stayed grounded in unseen strength. When applause would have flattered you prematurely, stillness kept you grounded. Now the rhythm has shifted. Not gradually, but abruptly. like a sky clearing after relentless overcast. The moment that once felt locked is suddenly open. The invitation has come not from people, but from destiny. What is arriving isn't a hand-me-down. It's original, uncontested, irreplaceable. No assistance brought this forth. No endorsement unlocked it. This movement is untamed by logic, untouched by politics, and untraceable by reason. If your heart overflows with divine love, now is the moment to let it shine. Click the super thank you button on YouTube and give $50 or more to help carry God's light to others. Your gift will bless not only your life, but countless others. You are part of His sacred plan. Your kindness may be the answer to someone's prayer. Share your blessings and honor His kingdom. May His grace guide you always. No one can watermark this outcome. No one can rewrite this unveiling. It belongs entirely to what was sown in secret. The detour wasn't a misstep. It was the architect's design. Now that the preparation is complete, the unveiling will be undeniable. The portion preserved wasn't merely withheld, it was defended. What is being handed to you now was always yours. Only now. You are truly ready to receive it. Few can truly understand the kind of courage it takes to move without guarantees, to step forward without proof, to say yes without knowing the cost. But the journey was never about comfort, it was about conviction. Direction was given without details, and still the course was taken. When the path was blurred and the noise was loud, still the choice was made to follow what couldn't be explained but couldn't be ignored either. There were crossroads that offered ease, and yet difficulty was chosen if it meant staying aligned. While others paused for certainty, steps were taken on instinct, on insight, on whispers that felt fragile but were fortified with faith. What the mind could not justify, the spirit embraced. While blueprints were absent and logic fell silent, obedience roared. The route made no sense to the world, but it resonated with something eternal. What was seen as reckless from the outside was, in truth, relentless from within. Movement happened in the absence of applause, of visibility, of reinforcement. That kind of unseen loyalty stirs unseen realms. That kind of trust shifts timelines. What looked like risk was actually release, releasing control, releasing pride, releasing outcomes. And now the response is unfolding, not at a slow drip, but like a dam breaking. Progress is happening in pulses. Momentum is finding its rhythm. Doors are opening, not by pressure, but by presence. Answers are arriving without being chased. Provision is unfolding without paperwork. It is not luck, it is alignment. Not coincidence, but culmination. The reason why the pace is accelerating now is because the foundation was built without shortcuts. No one saw the late nights, the near breakdowns, the battles between doubt and devotion. But now they'll see the fruit. They won't understand why things are shifting in your favor with such intensity. They'll assume you were fast-tracked, but they didn't witness the invisible climb. They didn't feel the weight of the unseen yes. They don't know what was lost, abandoned, sacrificed to stay on course. But that record exists beyond human eyes. What was done when no one was watching is now being answered in a way no one can deny. The sudden turns, the impossible timing, the overwhelming grace. It's all evidence of a different law at work. One that doesn't wait for approval. One that doesn't require permission. One that accelerates those who move by faith, not formula. Get ready for arrival before preparation seems complete. Get ready for outcomes that outpace explanation. What's unfolding now is not just compensation. It's divine velocity. It's the result of saying yes before it made sense. The reward has always been moving, but now it's catching up to you in real time. Not because you chased it, but because you trusted enough to walk when the way was unclear. Now everything is rising to meet you, not eventually, but now. You weren't chasing chance. You were cultivating consistency. What's shifting around you now isn't a burst of luck or a twist of fate. It's the unveiling of what has quietly been building beneath the surface. This momentum isn't random. It is the outcome of the depth you've developed when no one applauded, when the silence lingered, and when walking away would have been easier than standing firm. This is the result of moments that went unnoticed by people, but were unforgettable in the unseen realm. Times when you walked away from what was loud, choosing instead what aligned. Opportunities that glittered with gain, but you discerned the hollowness beneath the surface. You didn't earn this by controlling outcomes. You grew into it by letting go of what looked right in exchange for what was right for you. There were crossroads where urgency pressed hard, but you waited instead. Where quick reward was offered, but you held out for substance. The cost wasn't small. Comfort, connections, even your own pride. But you made peace with pruning, with the slow, sacred process of becoming. The sacrifices weren't loud, but they were real. And every act of quiet resilience counted more than anyone knew. While others tracked progress by what was seen, something deeper was being measured in you. Not just your patience, but your purity. Not just your loyalty, but your inner alignment. And now, the acceleration you're experiencing is not just compensation, it's recognition. The doors that are opening are not generic, they're personalized. Not because you played the game better, but because you refused to play it at all when it conflicted with your truth. This isn't applause for performance. It's honor for authenticity. It's the result of staying grounded when pride could have taken over, of remaining gentle when hurt could have hardened you, of holding on when release seemed more logical. This is the moment where the invisible becomes visible, where the inner work is finally matched by outer movement. No shortcuts brought you here, and no hands can claim credit. This is not the reward for perfection. It's the outcome of persistence. The shift is happening now not because you demanded it, but because you grew into it. The change is not haphazard, it's precise. Not last minute, but long awaited. What is aligning was always intended, but your timing had to match its weight. Now, the path is clearing. Not because there's no longer resistance, but because your strength no longer requires ease to progress. What rises now carries ripple effects, impacting more than your own life. This next space is not simply for your fulfillment, but for the legacy you're establishing. The transformation was never just about arrival, it was about endurance. And now the results are echoing far beyond what your eyes can see. Endurance isn't always loud. Some battles are fought with no witness, no echo of applause, no spotlight. There were days where everything felt heavy, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, but you kept going anyway. Not for praise, not for visibility, but because something deeper compelled you to stay the course, even while carrying what others never saw. The struggle was private, but the strength it produced was profound. Pain was processed in silence. Growth was cultivated in shadows. Breakdowns came with no fanfare, and healing happened with no headlines. You stood in spaces smiling while your soul was barely holding on. You encouraged others while your own heart was unraveling. But every act of perseverance left a mark. Every invisible decision to continue when quitting felt easier became part of the foundation for what is now emerging. What no one clapped for, the unseen kept record of. The quiet sacrifices, the rejections that never became rants, the disappointments that didn't become detours. You didn't build platforms, you built stamina. While others sought noise, you found depth. While some constructed image, you pursued authenticity. You weren't waiting to be noticed, you were choosing to be made whole. And now the tide is turning, not because of anything you broadcasted, but because of everything you bore. The shift is not a reward for perfection, it is a recognition of resilience. What's becoming visible was forged in places no one thought to look. The elevation is not for vanity, it's for validation of what was lived out in real, raw quiet. This is not about arrival, it's about alignment. Things are rising not just for show, but to reflect the weight you once carried alone. What was refined in the silence is being amplified now, not by your hand, but by the hand that witnessed it all. This unfolding isn't for revenge, it's for reflection. It's not to prove others wrong, it's to prove the process worked. You didn't manipulate moments, you mastered yourself. You didn't demand visibility, you nurtured truth. What's manifesting now is the result of consistency over time, of choosing purpose over performance, of choosing depth over display. This spotlight is not a performance, it's a signpost, signaling that the time of hiddenness has served its purpose. Now the doors are opening, not because you forced them, but because you became the kind of person who could walk through them. Not because you shouted to be seen, but because what you became could no longer be hidden. The weight you never spoke of, the pain you never posted, the prayers you never paraded, they've all returned, not as memories, but as momentum. This isn't sudden, it's sacred. It isn't random, it's written. The unveiling isn't meant to elevate you alone, it's meant to open the way for others who will walk through because you never gave up. You didn't broadcast the breaking, but now the breakthrough is becoming visible. And it's not just recognition, it's release. The time for hiding is over. What's been held back is now being set in motion. Elevation doesn't arrive without expectation. What's accelerating around you now isn't chaos, it's calculation. This sudden surge isn't just opportunity, it's observation. You've been entrusted with momentum, not gifted it without cause. Behind the scenes of your long seasons of waiting, something sacred was being constructed. Now, the pace is quickened, not to excite you, but to expose your capacity to handle weight while walking in wisdom. You're not just seeing movement, you're stepping into a measured moment. The timing is deliberate, but speed without clarity leads to spirals. Advancement without instruction leads to collapse. What's coming to you quickly must be handled slowly, in thought, in spirit, in decision. Every pivot must be prayed through. Every alliance must be filtered. Not all attention is affirmation. Not all motion is mission. There's an invisible pressure that comes with expansion. The temptation to perform instead of steward, to please instead of align. But this isn't the time to be led by applause. This is the time to be governed by discernment. You are not merely being moved. You are being molded mid-movement. The precision required now is higher. The stakes are generational. The sudden increase is not a gift to be consumed. It's a responsibility to be carried. You're not here to impress. You're here to impact. So be deliberate with every decision. What looks like open access may be a disguised assignment. What looks like partnership may be distraction in polished clothing. What looks like a win may cost you more than you're meant to pay. This is why the preparation was long, because what is being handed to you now must be handled with maturity. Stay grounded in stillness. Let your decisions echo your convictions, not your cravings. When the world pulls at your schedule, pull deeper into the silence where clarity waits. Your pace may be fast, but your posture must remain steady. Every green light isn't a yes. Every invitation isn't a key. Move, yes, but move only when peace follows your feet. Let wisdom whisper louder than opportunity. Let restraint be proof of your readiness. This is more than a season, it is a stretch. And how you carry this moment will shape what comes next. Not just for you, but for every life your decisions now affect. You're not just experiencing progress, you're managing purpose. And that purpose carries a pulse beyond your name. It speaks into generations, systems, atmospheres. Don't spend what you've been given on appearances. Protect the root while the fruit begins to show. Let your inner world remain louder than outer noise. This moment is not about speed alone. It's about synchronization. Your moves must match the rhythm of divine direction. The momentum is not to make you famous. It's to make you faithful in greater spaces. Let your anchoring be as strong as your advancement. The shift didn't arrive to flatter you. It arrived to reveal that you are ready. So walk with caution, not fear, with clarity, not haste. Everything ahead has meaning, and you are being trusted to move like it does. The shift before you is not a finish line, it's a signal. A signal that a greater narrative has just begun, one that stretches far beyond what your eyes have seen. The path beneath you is awakening, not ending. What's stirring now is not your conclusion, it's your ignition. This opening is more than a moment, it's a message. A quiet affirmation that everything built in silence was not in vain. What's happening isn't a reward for completion, but a cue to expand. You're not being celebrated for arrival, you're being equipped for impact. The unfolding around you carries weight, but it also carries promise. You're standing not at the summit, but at the start of a higher climb. The foundation was tested through unseen trials, and now the call is stretching, not shrinking. You didn't reach this place by polishing your image. You arrived because you never abandoned the process. The doors opening before you are not accidents. They're aligned with decisions made in dark places. You didn't climb here with credentials. You came through surrender, through staying when the room emptied, through believing when no results followed, through embracing growth even when it cut deep. You didn't perform your way into this momentum. You trusted your way through discomfort. Not every question was answered. Not every path was lit. But the endurance you showed in uncertainty is now unlocking what others cannot understand. You gave your yes without knowing the cost, and now the return is wrapped in movement you didn't manufacture. Don't let speed deceive you. This isn't the peak, it's permission. Permission to go further, to reach wider, to become more than what once felt possible. The strength you carry didn't come cheap, and now it's time to apply it where it matters most. What's next will not flatter your ego. It will stretch your obedience. It will invite more risk, more reach, more release. This new layer of life won't be just about your fulfillment. It will multiply through your alignment. The transformation is bigger than your name. It's rooted in legacy, an influence that touches people who may never meet you, but will be impacted by your courage. Seeds sown in weariness are about to feed lives you didn't even know were hungry.